Hello, I'm Stephen Cook with Cook Saw Manufacturing on a beautiful May morning in 2017. We're here at a barn that we've been building on for about 3 years actually, and I've got some old wood here that we cut probably 4 or 5 years ago, and I wanted to answer some questions that people have from time to time about stacking wood, drying wood, and things that might help you, that pick up a little tidbit here or there that might be helpful to you. As I mentioned, some of this wood you can see by how gray it is, rough on the end. This is stuff that we've cut many years ago, or several years ago, and it's pretty interesting. It hasn't been taken care of the best in the world at all. It's been outside all this time. Some people say, well, what about termites, or what about this, or what about that? We're in the South, we definitely have termites here. But if wood is kept dry, generally speaking, termites are not a problem. I've got my son's dog here that's going to be helpful in the video, looks like, this morning, but maybe she won't get in the way too much. But wood, this is pine, most of it. There's a little bit of oak in here. I've got a few stacks out behind us here that I've just kept around. It's stuff, as I said, we've cut and had it, and I want to use what I can use of it. And it's amazing how resilient wood is, and how much use you can get. We'll go inside the barn here in a little bit and show you some wood and things that we've done on the inside, and so from some of this very wood that I'm showing you here. We took this stack, it's been moved around a lot of times and kind of got shook up and messed up, so we've restacked this, and that was one of the first things I wanted to show you, was about stacking, some principles really. First thing is we've got several lengths in this stack, which I don't necessarily like. If you've got all one length, stack all your lengths together. Keep your ends even. I haven't done the best job because I've got all kind of different lengths in here, but it's good to keep your ends even. If you have a piece sticking out, like we have actually on the other end of here, when you go to stack things, if you have 3 or 4 or 5 stacks, that thing's going to be sticking out, and it's going to catch, you're going to dump your whole pile. Just little tidbits like that can be aggravating stuff, but the prettier you can make the stack, really the better off it is. But some of that prettiness is important, and just like here, I want this my cant that I'm stacking on, I've got these probably a little too wide. I'd rather they be closer. This wood is dry, and as I said, it's older already, so it's not going to deform as much. But the purpose of stacking these and then making your stickers come right up above is to make everything stay in place. If I have, say, this piece of wood, if it was particularly down on the bottom and I missed that stick, all the weight, if it was down here, would push that down, and it's going to give me a crooked board. When that board dries, it's going to take the shape of where it is. If it's bent, it's gonna hold that shape, just like when they make chairs and they bend the wood and let it dry and put it back in a kiln, it holds that shape. But it's very important, keep your sticks up here, and what tries to happen when you go to stack this, these sticks will wiggle around. So you've got to, once you get a couple of boards on there, you want to make sure these are still in the row. This one is actually, I'd rather it got right over there. We're using old sticks as well. We like to have a stick somewhere around 1 inch square, thereabouts. 3/4 might be okay, 3/4 inch square, or 3/4 inch thick and 1 inch wide. You don't want to get too wide because you don't want the essence of a board laying on a board. If you get 2-3 inches wide, you can develop rot in between there. Wood is very resilient as long as it stays dry. Inside the house or inside a building, you don't have to treat that wood because it stays dry, it doesn't rot. But if you lay something on it, 2 boards laying strictly or flush together there, they will develop mold, decay, and rot. And of course, that's what the sticker is about, or the stick that you put between it. They call it stickering it when you put it in between there. Another little thing, keep them even on the front side. These are actually longer than the stack that I've got that's sticking out the back. I want it to stick out the back. Now, once you get a good stack, you could come cut these off preferably have all your sticks the same length. That's helpful as well. If you're making your sticks, get them all the same length. But if you have this sticking out here and you come up with your forklift, you're going to shove that thing. I don't care if it's just one stick way down there and you're in a hurry. I've done it. And I go, well, I'm going to pick it up anyway. And I shove all my boards back over to the side. And that 15, 20 minutes that it took me to stack this lumber is just kind of not totally wasted, but it becomes somewhat wasted. As wood dries, sometime based off of, based off of how it was cut, how many knots. There's a pretty big knot in this southern yellow pine board. There's a big knot right here. So we didn't necessarily have the highest grade logs here when we cut this. Well, that's going to give me some twist in this. If you can notice, there's twists in here and down there. That wasn't a bad cut board. That was from the drying process, and you do develop degrade. Some of them get lower in the grade as they dry. The advantage, again, of keeping that down in the stack, if it's held good, that'll stay straighter. One thing that we like to do is cut our boards. This is something we started in the last few years as well. Cut our boards. If I want a 2x6, I may cut it 6.5. And then after it dries, maybe 7. After it dries, if I'm needing to know that I've got straight boards, we have an edger we can rip it on, or you can put it back on your sawmill, cut a quarter off this side, flip it over, cut a quarter off that side. And you'll have a perfect, or whatever, to make it the dimension you want, whether it's 2 by 5.5 like a standard 2x6 or whatever. You can do that. Another thing is I came in, and well, I think I mentioned that, as we stack these, what I really rather do is I stack across. Sometimes it's better to start on the outer edge here and the outer edge there. If not, I end up with a little gap right here. And then a lot of times you'll want to stick another board up on that, and it's hanging off. You know, if you're hanging off a little, this one would come close to being there. But you don't want to start hanging them off in the next one, because next thing you know, this stack will come and start moving over to the side, and you'll keep easing this way. So you're better off to go ahead and pull that board and get it on the edge, and you go, okay, that gives me the outer edge. Again, this board's longer than the other. I want to keep about the same length hanging off my stickers. And again, if this was fresh new wood, I would probably put twice the sticks and twice the cants underneath that I'm stacking off of down here, just because it holds it straighter. It's all about holding it straighter. Once you get your outer boards in there, well, I've got some gap in here, and that's okay. You don't have to worry too much about gap for air to flow through it, at least not here where we are, but if there's room, it's nice to have a little gap. As it dries, it's going to shrink and get some gap between there anyway. Where to put it when you are drying it? Well, I'd rather not put it in the trees in total shade, especially if the leaves are falling. Leaves will fall on that, and you've got the same thing as laying boards on it. So if you get piles of leaves on it, those need to be off of it. As far as being in the woods and in some shade, that would be fine. Just the leaves become an issue. Putting it under a shed is excellent. But that would be an open shed, not a closed-in shed, not a 3-ended shed even. You've got to get wind, air to pass through, and that's what the stickers are about. It lets air pass through, and then they dry. I need to do a little more reading up on moisture content, but in generalities, oak that we have, southern red oak, and then the yellow pine, we're going to be talking about when it's green. I think, I'll say I think, it might even be a little higher, but 40 to 60% moisture content. And there's some equations how to figure that. The easiest thing is to use a little reader that they make, a little tool that they make that you drive the points in there and see what it is. They've got those reasonably inexpensive now, I think. But if you're running in that range to begin with, but when you air dry the wood, about 19%, at least down here in the south, is about the best that it'll get in the outside. That's enough that you can then take it apart and stack it together and put it in your shed, in an enclosed shed then. And you've dried enough moisture out till fungus and mold and rot won't continue in that. It's dried out enough it can't grow. But when it's in the green state and drying down to that moisture content, having it under shed is great, but it has to be open, so it's just a top, in other words, so the air will flow through that. And then as it dries, it's nice that a little flows in between it here as well. I've got a little paper that I printed off the internet right here, and this is talking about 4/4. This is actually northern red oak, and because a lot of people's questions are how long does it take to dry. This is 4/4, so 1 inch. If you're sawing grade, it's 1 1/8 or around 1 1/8 actually. And all of these are generalities, because in January, to dry this from green down to 20%, air drying it would take 144 days. But in July 1st here on this scale that they've got, to dry that same 4/4 wood down to 20% from green would only take 66 days. Another thing that comes into play as we talk about that, and you look on the internet and find all kind of things about moisture content and drying times, things like that. One of the things that happens as this wood dries, it gives up that first moisture pretty quick. That's one reason it's nice to have a shed over it, so it don't give it up quite as fast, maybe from the direct sun. As you know, direct sun makes checks in the face of the wood, things like this right here, which can, according to what you're doing, if you're wanting to use that for a 2x6, now that's become lower grade and you can't use it because it don't have as much strength for certain things. But it gives up a lot of times out of the end, and you get checks in the end of your wood, and it goes out the end. So a simple thing that you can do, especially if you just got a few stacks, is they make things that you can buy, but it's wax-like things, sprays or emulsions that you can paint on the end of the wood so that it doesn't give up as much moisture out the ends of the wood. And so that's sometimes helpful. My dog's over here giving me some help with my wood now too. All kind of things happen when you're dealing with wood, and so even that, you can see that dog's funny how she wants to move and she's looking for a mouse or something. But anyway, that's some quick tidbits about how to stack wood and some basic things. Go on. About wood that might be helpful to you. So we'll go around and look in the barn. I'll show you some of this old wood that we put on the walls, and I think you'll probably be impressed with what it'll do.